friends, Rebecca here, the Dragon Librarian from Farmington Community Library, and Zephyr and I are here today because we've got a really special book video for you, and that is because we are in the beginning of a new year, so it is officially time to talk about my top favorite books that I read last year in 2023. So for the next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking about those. I narrowed it down to 10, and I split it so that we're going to talk about the top 5 today. And then next video, we'll talk about the runners-up, the 5 runners-up. And then after that, we'll talk about some of my favorite graphic novels. So this is all completely subjective, right? This is just one reader's experience. I did read a lot of books last year. It was well over 400. I think the exact number was like 435 maybe. So I read a lot of books. So it was very hard to narrow it down to just the top 10 and then the top 5. But I did it, and I'm going to talk about the top 5 today. I'm very excited. So what are the characteristics or what are the qualities that I use to figure out which of those books are going to be my favorite? So out of all the books I've read. So a couple things go into it. First of all, the writing does have to be really good. And secondly, they have to really make me feel something so strongly that I'm still thinking about them, well over the last time from when I have read it, right? So a lot of these books are books I read in the beginning of the year last year, and they're still sticking with me because they were just so emotional and wonderful. So all of that goes into it. But again, like I said, this is all just super subjective. It's just one reader's experience, through the year of what they thought was the best thing ever. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. There may be books on here you're like, I read that, but I didn't think it was that great. Or, oh my gosh, I read this book and it didn't appear on her list. I can't believe that. If that's the case, I want to hear about it. I want to hear about some of your favorite books of 2023. Because if I haven't read them yet, I want to read them. This is super exciting to talk about stuff like this, right? Okay, so book number 5, we're going to count down from 5 to 1. Book number 5 is called The Scapegracers by Hannah Abigail Clarke. The Scapegracers. First of all, I love this cover and its beautiful simplicity, right? It's just awesome. So this is a book that was, it's really not talked about at all, which makes me super sad because it blew me away by how much I liked it. It was a series that was not really talked about a lot when it first came out. It is going to be a trilogy. The first 2 books are out right now, and the third one is coming out sometime this spring. I want to say March or so. So this is a book that is about this high school girl named Sideways. Yes, her name is Sideways, and I absolutely love that. And she is a witch. Now, in this world, it's very close to ours, except magic exists, and there are these groups of people called witch finders who are trying to make magic illegal, and they're trying to hunt down people who use magic and stuff like that. So Sideways has to be kind of a little bit careful. The witch finders are like not really taken very seriously. So that is sort of a good thing, although that does change throughout the course of the story. So Sideways does these little tricks at school to get favors from people and stuff like that. She's kind of a loner. When she falls in with this group of 3 girls who are really popular, and I want to say feral, because I think that is like the best word to describe this group of girls. They give no apologies, they give no quarter, they are just fierce, unapologetic girls. And she falls in with this group who are learning to be witches, and it's just this amazing high school story of this group of friends / witches, which doesn't sound like a lot. There's lots of books about witches and lots of books about high school friendship. But let me just tell you, there is something about the writing in this book that is so captivating. If you're as old as I am and you remember the movie from the 90s, The Craft, this book just felt a lot like that. It gave me those vibes of just, the way female friendship can be in high school, the bonds that you create, and with the added joy of magic as well. I loved it. I loved Sideways. She is so flawed and awesome, just an amazing character. Love this book. And like I said, it totally took me by surprise because I hadn't heard about it, hadn't heard a lot of people talking about it. It just came up under my radar when I was reading books about witchy stuff for Halloween this year, and it stole my heart completely. Give this one a shot. The Scapegracers. So good. Okay. Now we're going to switch gears with number 4 to a book that probably you have heard of. At least you've heard of the author, or you've heard of the previous series that he has written. And this is Murtagh by Christopher Pauline. Murtagh. So this is technically considered a middle grade book, although I'm talking about it in the YA video because of one thing, the length. And the second thing is, I think that a lot of the original fans of Eragon are either teens now or older. So I think this mostly will appeal to older groups of people. So Murtagh is a continuation of the Eragon series by Christopher Pauline. So this is a story about the Eragon series is a story about a boy who finds a dragon egg, hatches it, and goes on this grand adventure. It's a very simplistic story, but done in a beautiful way. One of the amazing things about the Eragon series is that he started writing it when he was 16 years old. So watching his writing, which in the first book is not super good, but watching his writing and his ability as a writer grow throughout the series was just such a joy. Absolutely loved it. And I think it's a really great story of how you can make your dreams come true no matter what age you are, right? Which is a super important thing to learn. So anyway, this is the long anticipated next book in the series, Murtagh. So basically this takes place after the events in the Eragon series. Do you have to have read the 4 original books in the series to read and enjoy this one? Yes and no. So no, technically I don't think you need to. Christopher Pauline does a fantastic job in the beginning of the book, kind of going through everything that happened in the original books so that you will not feel lost if you haven't read them. It has been a few years since I revisited the series, and I was thinking about rereading it before jumping into this, but I didn't have time. So I was worried that I was going to have forgotten some things, but with his recap of everything that happens, I totally was caught up and it was not a problem at all. However, this is a character that is a fan favorite from the original story. He is Eragon's half-brother. He was held captive and under the control of the evil king Galbatorix in the first series and did a lot of bad things. And this is sort of his, like, redemption novel. So while you don't necessarily have to have read the original series to understand what's going on, to really feel the deep emotional depth of this book, I think you should read the other ones first, but you don't have to. It's not, you know, if you're not super worried about that, you can probably read it and be fine. But this character goes through so many things in the first series, and basically this is now him and his dragon Thorn investigating a new evil that has arisen in the land. So what I loved most about this book, number one, like I said, is the writing. Like, reading this book and knowing how the first few books in the series were is just such a joy, because you're like, you know, I watched this kid basically grow up, grow as a writer, and it was just absolutely amazing to see, and I loved that. But I also, one thing that is done very well in not just this book, but in the original Eragon series, is the writing of the bond between the dragon and the rider. So, you know, in the original series, we're mostly seen through the story through the eyes of Eragon and his dragon Saphira, but getting a new story with a new character, Murtagh, or new that we're getting from his point of view versus, you know, mostly hearing from Eragon in the original series, the bond between Murtagh and his dragon Thorn is just so beautiful. And they're both, you know, racked with guilt over the things they were forced to do during the war, and, you know, trying to become worthy of themselves and what they believe they can be together. Their friendship, oh, it's beautiful. I love this story so much. It's absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend it. If you are a person that enjoys dragon books, I really recommend not just this book, but the original Eragon series as well. This was just a dream come true for this book to come out this year and to read it. And it made me and a lot of other people very happy. So give this one a shot, Murtagh, if you are a fan of the Eragon series. And if you have never heard of the Eragon series, give that a shot too. Okay. Book number 3, Imogen, obviously, by Becky Albertalli. I love, love, love Becky Albertalli. She is just a fantastic YA writer. She's written so many wonderful things. The one that you probably are most familiar with is Simon versus the Homo Sapien Agenda, which was turned into a movie. I think it was called Dear Simon or something like that. I can't remember what the movie was called, but there's a movie based on her book that's very popular. She's written a ton of other books that are just really great. So I was really excited about this one. In particular, this is about a high school girl named Imogen who believes that she is just the straight ally of her group of queer friends. She's got a best friend who is a lesbian. She's got another very close friend that is bi, and she's just all completely supportive of them, but doesn't even consider that she could possibly be a member of the LGBTQ community as well. Until one friend that is bisexual has gone to college, and she invites Imogen to go and hang out with her and her new friends. And she starts to kind of fall for one of the girls in her friend group. And watching this journey of self-discovery, particularly the doubt of herself and not knowing who she is and trying to figure that out, was just such a honest and amazing story. And the writing is so good. Becky Albertalli can write teen dialogue like no other. I love the way she writes teen dialogue. It's all so amazing. This book was laugh out loud funny. It had a lot of really deep emotional moments as well, for Imogen, you know, discovering who she is on her journey. And I just absolutely loved it. Loved it. Imogen, obviously. All right. We're getting down to the wire now, right? We've got books number 2 and books number 1. We're going to find out which they are. One is a book that I read in the very beginning of last year, and then the first book is the book I read a couple months ago, and just, I love it. Okay, book number 2. All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir. All My Rage. This book won a lot of awards, and it is absolutely phenomenal and deserving of all of them. It is so fantastic. So this is a realistic fiction story about 2 Pakistani teenagers living in America, and you've got Salahuddin, whose family runs this hotel. It's sort of falling apart because his mother is very ill and his dad has fallen into drinking too much. So you've got Salahuddin, and you've got his best friend Noor, who is a young Pakistani girl who lives with her uncle after her family was all killed in Pakistan. She lives with her uncle here in America, and helps out at his convenience store. So the 2 of them are best friends, Salahuddin and Noor, until in the beginning of the story you find out something happened with their friendship that caused them to have a rift. So they're not really talking right now, and basically it is the story of not just their friendship, but it is the story of prejudice. It is the story of family, of love. There is so much going on in this book. This book is just truly a masterpiece. If you have not read this or read anything by Sabaa Tahir, you have to read this one. She's written other things before, but this is her. It's a work of art, seriously, this book. I absolutely loved it. All My Rage is basically the story of, like, the title really means a lot for this book, because it's about the rage that you let out. It's about the rage that you hold in when you're experiencing, you know, microaggressions towards yourself. It's just such an amazing story. It can be frustrating and emotional, and just, there's a lot of things going on, but it's also hopeful and empowering, and a beautiful story. Highly recommend this one. Do not miss this book. All My Rage. All right. We're now at the number 1 book of the year. Are we ready? A Study in Drowning by Reid. A Study in Drowning. Now, this is a little bit of a cheat, because this is one of my special editions of this book. So I just really wanted to show you guys this beautiful cover. I say one of the special editions. I have 3. Don't judge me. But I will show you the original cover so that you know what you're looking for in the library. This is the original cover, A Study in Drowning. Okay. Now, this book, I was really excited about it when I heard it was coming out, mostly because I've read Reid's other works. She's written adult books before, adult fantasy books. This was her first young adult book, so I was really anticipating it, but I was also nervous because, you know, when an author changes the type of audience that they're writing for, that can either go really well or it can kind of flop, right? But this book, Oh, beautiful. It is about a young woman who is a student in the School of Architecture, but she really wants to be in the College of Literature because of how much she loves reading and stories, particularly this one author that she absolutely loves. Well, when there is but they don't allow women in the literature college. So this is a fantasy universe. She wins a chance to help design the new house on the estate of the author that she absolutely loves, her favorite author. So of course she has to do it, right? She has to take up the opportunity. So it's her and this other student who are there at this manor that is dilapidated and falling to pieces. And it is just the story of the turbulence of the natural world versus the human world. It's a story of memory, of writing, and of reading, and it is just so beautifully written. It's like being in a dream. This book has some of the best writing ever. It's just so wonderfully done. The main characters are incredible. You've got this main character who is, basically set up in a place to fail, right? She's the only female student in the architectural school. She wants to go to the School for Literature, but it's just such a misogynistic environment and everybody looks down on her. She has suffered a trauma before the story begins that she's still working through. And it's just incredible. Watching her journey was just magnificent. And like I said, the writing, it's beautiful. Highly, highly recommend this. Do not miss this book. It is a gem, truly. A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. Well, those are my top 5 favorite young adult books that I read in 2023. I hope that there's something in there that sounds really interesting and fun to you. If so, they are all available from Farmington Community Library, so feel free to come in and check them out or put them on hold. And next week we'll be talking about my top 5 runners-up for YA books. Thank you so much for watching, friends, and have a wonderful rest of the day.